"It's just a stupid birthday, you can have it any day," my sister scoffed. I was done being the black sheep. Hours later, my grandfather arrived and announced. I never thought my 18th birthday would be the day everything changed, but looking back, it was the moment I finally saw my family for who they truly were. Up until that point, I'd spent my entire life making excuses for them, convincing myself that the way they treated me was normal. I believed that one day they'd see how hard I worked, how much I sacrificed, and finally give me the recognition I deserved. That day never came, but something better did. Our family dynamic was simple. My sister Lucy, 21, was the golden child, and I, 18F, was the afterthought. My parents, both in their mid-40s, had always made it abundantly clear where their priorities lay. Lucy's wants were needs, her requests were commands, and her happiness was the family's primary mission. Meanwhile, I was expected to understand, to accommodate, and to never complain. My grandfather Leonard was the only one who seemed to notice the imbalance, though I didn't realize just how much he'd been paying attention until that fateful day. The pattern had been established early. When Lucy turned 16, my parents threw her a lavish Sweet 16 party at an upscale venue with a professional DJ, catered food, and a designer dress that cost more than my entire wardrobe. For my 16th, I got a small family dinner at home and a used laptop for school purposes. When Lucy turned 18, my parents surprised her with a brand new Audi, complete with a giant red bow like in those Christmas commercials. They couldn't understand why I seemed disappointed when they handed me a $100 gift card and a promise that we'll do something special next time for my milestone birthdays. College applications revealed more of the same. Lucy was free to apply to any school she wanted, regardless of tuition costs. My parents assured her they would figure it out financially. Meanwhile, I was handed a list of in-state public universities and told to focus on ones offering scholarships because college is expensive and we need to be practical. I didn't complain. Instead, I got a part-time job at a local coffee shop, maintained a 4 GPA, and saved every penny I could, knowing that my future depended on my efforts alone. What I didn't know then was that my grandfather was the unseen financial pillar of our household. He'd been quietly paying a significant portion of my parents' mortgage for years after my father's business venture failed. He helped with Lucy's tuition and had purchased that Audi that supposedly came from my parents, all while watching how they treated me with growing disapproval. For my 18th birthday, I decided things would be different. I'd saved $850 from my coffee shop job and put down a deposit on a small venue where I could host a proper celebration with my friends. It would be my first real party, and despite my parents' lukewarm response to the idea, they eventually agreed to help with some of the food. My grandfather, learning of my plans, offered to cover the catering costs as his gift to me. The day before my birthday, everything fell apart. Lucy's planned Miami trip with her friends was canceled due to an incoming hurricane. She stormed into the house, threw her luggage down the hallway, and locked herself in her room. The slamming door might as well have been the sound of my birthday hopes crashing down. My parents immediately rushed to console her, spending the entire evening outside her door, coaxing her with promises of alternate trips, online shopping sprees, anything to cease her sobbing. I went to bed that night still believing my birthday would proceed as planned. I'd spent months organizing it, sent invitations to all my friends, and finally felt like I was doing something just for me. I fell asleep imagining the next day, my special day, my turn to be celebrated. I woke up early on my birthday, excitement bubbling through me despite the tension from the previous night. The house was oddly quiet. No birthday breakfast smells wafting from the kitchen, no festive music, no parents waiting to wish me happy birthday. Instead, I found my mom and dad sitting at the kitchen table, speaking in hushed tones that instantly stopped when I entered. My mom's face held that pinched look she got when delivering bad news she didn't want to deal with. My dad couldn't even meet my eyes. On the counter sat my birthday cake, still in its box, undecorated, next to a small pile of unopened party supplies. "We had to cancel your party," my mom said flatly, as if announcing a minor schedule change. "Lucy is absolutely devastated about her trip, and we can't possibly have a celebration while she's so upset." I stood frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. My dad finally looked up, his expression a practiced mix of apology and dismissal. "We've already texted everyone that you're sick. We'll reschedule for another time when things settle down." The realization hit me like a physical blow. They hadn't just postponed my party. They'd canceled it without even consulting me. They'd lied to my friends rather than risk upsetting Lucy further by allowing my celebration to proceed. 18 years of similar disappointments flashed through my mind, but this betrayal felt different, more final, more absolute. You canceled my 18th birthday because Lucy's vacation fell through. My voice came out in a whisper, my throat tight with unshed tears. My mom's expression hardened. Your sister is going through a really difficult time right now. Her friends have all posted about how disappointed they are, and she feels humiliated. The last thing she needs is to hear everyone having fun downstairs while she's miserable. As if summoned by our conversation, Lucy appeared in the doorway, her face puffy from crying but her eyes narrowed with righteous indignation. Why are you making such a big deal about this? She demanded, gesturing wildly. It's just a stupid birthday, you can have it any day. My trip was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Something inside me snapped. All the years of swallowing my disappointment, of understanding, of stepping aside, they crystallized into a single moment of perfect clarity. This wasn't love, this wasn't normal. This was systematic emotional neglect dressed up as family dynamics. I saved for months for this party, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I put down deposits, I made promises to my friends, this was important to me. After everything we do for you, my mom countered, her tone dripping with martyrdom. Why can't you be understanding for once? Why must you always make things so difficult? What exactly have you done for me? The question escaped before I could stop it, years of suppressed resentment behind it. That's when we heard the front door open. My grandfather Leonard, tall and distinguished even at 72, stood in the entryway, a small gift bag dangling from his fingers. He'd come early to help set up for the party, only to walk into the middle of our confrontation. What's going on here? He asked, his usually warm voice edged with something I'd never heard before. His eyes took in the scene, the boxed cake, my tear-streaked face, my parents' defensive postures, and Lucy's performative sniffling. My parents exchanged panicked glances. My father attempted a casual tone that fell pathetically short. Leonard, we didn't expect you so early. There's been a slight change of plans with the party. Lucy's had a bit of a setback with her trip, and we're just... I heard everything, my grandfather interrupted, his voice dangerously quiet. I was about to ring the doorbell when I heard you cancel this child's 18th birthday because her sister is upset about a vacation. The silence that followed was absolute. My parents looked like children caught in wrongdoing. Lucy's performance faltered as she sensed the shift in power. So this is how you treat your daughter, my grandfather continued, each word deliberate and cutting. After I've been paying your mortgage for 5 years, after I bought that car you pretended was from you, after I've watched you systematically favor one child over the other since they were small. My father recovered first, his tone placating. Leonard, you're blowing this out of proportion, it's just a party. It's not just a party, my grandfather thundered, his composure finally breaking. It's her 18th birthday, it's about respect, about making your child feel valued. Something you two have consistently failed to do where she's concerned. He turned to me then, his expression softening. Pack your things, Allison, you're coming to live with me. My mother's face drained of color. What are you saying? You can't just take our daughter. I'm 18 as of today, I said, the realization of my legal adulthood dawning alongside this unexpected opportunity for escape. I can live wherever I want. The next 30 minutes passed in a blur. I moved mechanically through my bedroom, pulling clothes from drawers, toiletries from the bathroom, and mementos I couldn't bear to leave behind. My parents hovered anxiously, their protests growing increasingly desperate as they realized I was serious about leaving. You're tearing this family apart, my mother accused, blocking my bedroom doorway, after everything we've sacrificed for you. I looked at her, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. What exactly did you sacrifice? My entire life I've been the one expected to give things up, to understand, to accept less. You've never sacrificed anything for me. Her face contorted with anger and disbelief. How dare you? We've given you everything. No, I corrected her quietly. Grandpa gave you everything, and now he's giving me what you never could, respect. My grandfather waited patiently by the front door while I finished packing. When I finally descended the stairs with my bags, Lucy launched her last offensive. If you leave, she threatened, her voice shrill, don't think you can come back when you realize how good you had it here. You're being so selfish. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say to someone who had never once considered my feelings valid. Instead, I walked past her to my grandfather's waiting car. As we drove away, I watched my childhood home recede in the side mirror, a weight lifting from my shoulders with each passing mile. I didn't know then just how significant that departure would be, not just for me, but for the entire family structure that had taken my presence and compliance for granted. My grandfather's house was everything our family home wasn't: peaceful, orderly, and filled with books instead of drama. He gave me my own room with a desk for studying and a privacy I'd never experienced. For the first time, I felt like someone was genuinely invested in my well-being rather than how my behavior affected someone else's mood. The consequences for my family began almost immediately. My grandfather not only stopped paying their mortgage but also cut off all other financial support he'd been providing. Without his assistance, my parents quickly fell behind on payments. Lucy, who had never worked a day in her life, was forced to get a part-time job at the mall to cover her own expenses, something she considered beneath her social standing. The first text from my mother arrived 3 days after I left. It was accusatory. "I hope you're happy. Your grandfather has stopped helping us because of your manipulation. This family is falling apart because of your selfishness." I didn't respond. 2 days later, my father tried. "Your mother is devastated. How could you turn Leonard against us like this? We're your parents. You owe us more loyalty than this." Again, I didn't engage. My grandfather advised me to give myself time and space before deciding how or whether to respond to them. He helped me enroll in a new school to finish my senior year, arranged for a counselor to help me process what I'd been through, and never once made me feel like I was a burden. As weeks passed, my parents' messages shifted from accusatory to pleading. "Please talk to your grandfather about helping with the mortgage. We're going to lose the house." And later, "Can you at least come for dinner so we can talk? We miss you." When I still didn't respond, the final phase began: desperation. "We admit we made mistakes. We're sorry about your birthday. Please come home. The family isn't the same without you." Meanwhile, extended family members who had witnessed years of the favoritism began reaching out to me directly. My Aunt Caroline, my father's sister, called to say she was proud of me for standing up for myself. "We all saw it," she admitted, "but none of us had the courage to say anything." 3 months after moving in with my grandfather, I received my acceptance letter to Stanford University with a substantial merit scholarship. My grandfather beamed with pride and promised to cover the remaining costs. When my mother somehow learned of my acceptance, likely through social media, she called for the first time since I'd left. "We always knew you were smart," she said, as if they'd been supportive all along. "But you should consider coming home before college. We've learned our lesson and family should be together." "Is Lucy still living at home?" I asked, already knowing the answer. The pause told me everything. "Well, yes, of course. She's having a difficult time right now. She had to leave her sorority because we couldn't afford the dues and she's very upset about it." "Then I'm staying with Grandpa," I replied simply. My mother's voice hardened. "So that's your condition? You'll only come back if Lucy leaves? How is that fair?" "It's not a condition, Mom. It's a reality. You've chosen her over me my entire life. Nothing has changed." As my parents' financial situation deteriorated further, their attempts to reconcile became increasingly transparent. My father lost his leased BMW and had to downgrade to a used Honda. My mother's weekly salon appointments became DIY home treatments. Lucy's designer wardrobe stopped expanding. 6 months after I left, they received a foreclosure notice. That same day, both of them showed up unannounced at my grandfather's house. My mother's eyes were red from crying, my father's face gaunt with stress. They'd come to propose what they considered a compromise. "We've been thinking," my father began carefully, "that perhaps we could all live together here at Leonard's house, just until we get back on our feet." I looked at them incredulously. After everything, they still didn't understand. It wasn't about the house or the money, it was about being valued. My grandfather, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. "That won't be possible. This house is Allison's safe space now, and I won't have you disrupting it. You made your choices consistently for years. Now you're living with the consequences." "But we're family," my mother protested, her voice breaking. "You can't just leave us homeless." "You're not homeless yet," my grandfather pointed out coolly. You still have options: downsize, sell that Audi I bought, have Lucy move into an apartment with roommates like most college students do. Take responsibility for your situation instead of expecting everyone else to fix it for you. They left without the bailout they'd come for, but they didn't stop trying. When selling their designer furniture and my mother's jewelry collection didn't cover enough of their debts, they became desperate enough to threaten legal action, claiming my grandfather had promised ongoing financial support. Their lawyer quickly informed them they had no case. All of my grandfather's assistance had been voluntary with no contractual obligations. The last-ditch effort only served to further alienate the extended family who closed ranks around me and my grandfather. About a year after I moved out, I met Alex through a university prep program. He was headed to UCLA on a soccer scholarship, and we connected over our shared academic interests and dry sense of humor. When he brought me home to meet his family, I was struck by their warmth and the natural equality among his siblings. There were no favorites, no hierarchy of importance, just love expressed in equal measure. It was like glimpsing an alternate reality of what family could be. My own family's final desperate play came when Lucy herself showed up at my grandfather's door. Gone were the designer clothes and entitled attitude, replaced by a uniform from the restaurant where she now worked and a forced humility that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I need your help," she admitted, addressing me directly for the first time in months. "Dad and Mom are selling the house and I have nowhere to go. My friends won't let me crash with them anymore and I can't afford my own place on what I make." I felt a strange mix of emotions, vindication, pity, and a lingering sadness for what our relationship could have been under different circumstances. "I can't help you," I said finally. "Not because I don't want to, but because it wouldn't actually help. You need to stand on your own feet for once." Her facade cracked instantly. "This is all your fault," she hissed, the familiar entitled rage bubbling to the surface. "You turned Grandpa against us, you ruined everything." My grandfather, who had been listening from the hallway, stepped forward. "No, Lucy, your parents ruined everything by creating a household where one child was treated like royalty and the other like an afterthought. Allison simply stopped accepting it." He handed her a business card. "This is the contact information for a decent apartment complex that offers income-based rent. Tell them I referred you. It's not luxury, but it's clean and safe. That's my one-time offer of help. What you do with it is up to you." After she left, I wondered if I'd been too harsh, if I should have offered more. My grandfather seemed to read my thoughts. "Compassion is admirable," he said gently, "but it's not compassionate to shield people from the consequences of their actions. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to let people face reality." Now, almost 2 years after that fateful birthday, my life has transformed in ways I never imagined possible. I've completed my freshman year at Stanford with honors, maintained a healthy relationship with Alex, and built a chosen family of friends who value me for exactly who I am. My parents eventually sold their house and moved into a small apartment. My father found a job at an insurance company, a step down from his previous position, but enough to keep them afloat. My mother started working as a receptionist after 15 years as a stay-at-home mom. Lucy dropped out of college and now manages the restaurant where she once bussed tables, a job she's surprisingly good at now that she's been forced to develop a work ethic. They still reach out occasionally, usually around holidays, with carefully worded messages about forgiveness and family. I respond politely but briefly. Some wounds are too deep for simple reconciliation, and some relationships can never return to what they were, especially when what they were wasn't healthy to begin with. My grandfather says I've given him purpose in his later years. We've established new traditions, celebrated holidays our way, and built memories untainted by favoritism or conditional love. He's updated his will to leave his house to me, knowing I'll use the gift wisely. Sometimes when I look at photos from before, at the quiet, reserved girl who accepted less than she deserved, I barely recognize her. That girl believed she had to earn love through sacrifice and accommodation. She didn't understand that real love doesn't demand those things. The truth I've learned since that birthday is both painful and liberating. Sometimes losing a toxic family dynamic is the first step to finding your real worth. And sometimes, the family you need isn't the one you were born into, but the one that chooses to see your value when others won't. As I prepare to begin my sophomore year at Stanford, I carry with me not bitterness or resentment, but a profound appreciation for how that canceled birthday turned out to be the most significant gift I've ever received, the gift of recognizing my own worth and the courage to demand that others recognize it too.